Okay, lovely, we're working now. Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, thank you so much for joining us here in the Indonesia Pavilion. And indeed, lovely and ornate as it is, to all of those of you who are watching live streamed via YouTube, thank you as well. You're very much welcome as part of this particular session. I'm David EEZs, and I am moderating under the auspices, really, of the high-level panel on sustainable ocean economy. Now, that panel represents a number of countries who in themselves essentially have control of almost half of our coastal waters around the world. So this commitment to 100% sustainable economy is a massive commitment, a huge challenge, and globally very significant indeed. Of course, an economy is a complex thing, and a sustainable economy for these coastal communities in particular crosses so many sectors, whether it's about livelihoods in fishing and tourism, or of course energy off coast, shipping, and critically marine conservation. How do they all intertwine, and what do you do to protect the environment whilst maintaining the economy? Well, we have all the people who are in a position to help answer those questions, recognize the obstacles in front of them as well, because this is about data sharing the next 45 minutes. How do you increase the amount of data being shared? Because without data, where does the understanding come from as to how to make a sustainable economy work? These are the challenges we're faced with, and I'm delighted to say, to kick us off really, we are joined by, in a sense, our own host in Dr. Nani Hendiati, who's the Deputy Minister for Indonesia for Forestry and the Environment. Ibu Nani, I'd like to introduce you to the stage for some opening thoughts about Indonesia's role. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. David. Very good afternoon, distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen, all the participants. I think first of all, we would like to say welcome to Indonesian Pavilion. So I hope my voice is enough, you can hear. Because yeah. So then I think every year Indonesia is always make these Indonesian pavilions to get also like sharing the kind of the outreach what we have done so far and what we have worked together with our strategic partner and also international organizations for the important issue on the climate change. So yeah, I think first I would like to mention very short because it's like only 3 minutes. I would like to share to you that Indonesia is blessed with the blue economy potential, so that could contribute to the national economic growth up to 15%. So this is include from the coastal ecosystems or the nature-based, or we call it also ecosystem-based approach. And also our vision of the blue economy development by 2045 is sustainable manage through the knowledge blue carbon to create social economy property, to ensure a healthy marine environment, and also strengthen resilience for the benefit of current of the future generations. So Indonesia has 3 pillars in blue economy, which are ecology, economy, and social. So we will maintain balance between the marine ecology, ecosystem, coastal ecosystems, and also its resources through some strategies or in the marine conservation, capture fisheries, aquaculture, and management in the coastal area and also in the small islands. We have more than 17,000 islands. So, but I think we have also some difficult situations because also the global pressure related with the, we call it some challenges that this could undermine the potential of the blue carbon, which are here, maybe the next slide, yeah. We can see the overfishing, also there's some yeah, situation that we need to work more in the sustainable way, and also unwell manage of the coral reef. I think we have some degraded of the water condition, yeah, and also we say that high costs also for the marine debris handling, as well as I will explain a bit more about the mangrove area that is about 30% are still needed to be restored. So related with those challenges, the government of Indonesia, together with the relevant stakeholders, not only national stakeholder but also international stakeholder, already have concrete action. So marine debris management, for instance, has reached almost 40% of the target in the last 4 years. And we also have a very ambitious target for the mangrove rehabilitation program, where we put 600,000 hectare in for the 5 years program. So tomorrow is the Nature, Land Use and Ocean Thematic Day in the COP28, and we would like also to invite all here the participants to join the mangrove breakthrough event in the green zone, which will be held tomorrow, I think about 12 o'clock, and we will share what have been also Indonesia work together with the strategic partner. And I think the last, I think would like to also mention here about the data. So Indonesia has a National Oceanographic Data Center, we call it NODC, that established in 2018 to integrate marine data collected by various institutions in Indonesia. There are about 13 ministries and agencies contributing to the NODC that coordinated by our coordinating ministry, and also beside this, we have also developed like more applied information. So because we have ocean literacy program that we can also we support also the fishermen, for instance, with the information such as the fishing ground prediction or location that can help them to get easier to reach the place, and to also get more efficient in the operational of their day operational. So lastly, the existence of the ocean data is, I think we agree here, that is very, very important to set the plan and also to support the decisive policies towards sustainability. So we cannot make any good plan and good program without sufficient and accurate data. So now we are moving to gather more data, but also not only in the numbers, but also in the accuracy, means the quality. So I think this is because also our network that we can get this better information, and then we try to apply in all sectors, all related sectors. So thank you so much.
Ibu Nani, thank you. Please come and join me here for a moment, because we're going to engage in a discussion on how this is all going to come into play. You've laid out some of the big challenges that are still there. We're talking about raising the quantity of data sharing. How does data inform your strategic governmental decisions then? I mean, if people are going to contribute more data, what are you going to do with it?
Yes, thank you. I think we are open, yeah, to collaborate. Of course, we need to discuss about like format of the data, and also we need to prepare the window of the data that we already designed. Yeah, the frame of this such like NODC. But I would like also to explain how is the data is important. For instance, one big program on the mangrove rehabilitation that now we have a target to rehabilitate about 600,000 hectares. Basically, this policy, the policy is we call it presidential decree. So it's in, kind of the mandate from our president. This refer to the data produced by the Ministry of Environment and Forestry. So we have what we call it the national mangrove data. So we identify the existing mangrove also with the condition. So the condition that we need to do the restoration and rehabilitation. So we identify that need about 600,000 hectares. But we update the data by the time. So the data will be changes because also I think in the progress of our program in the last 5 years, so now become less number the mangrove with the condition we call it critical area that need to be restored. So less than 600,000, but we can still make it because we have identify also potential area that can grow mangrove. So I think this is why the data is so important. This is only one example related to the blue carbon, but I think other we use actually the combination data like remote sensing satellite data with also drone data. So
But that's a very
yes,
clear illustration
yes,
of how the
yes,
data can work. Thank you very much for that, Ibunani. Let's get a little bit more about then this effort to bring all those data opportunities together, and driving this is Hub Ocean. The CEO of Hub Ocean is with us here, Kimberly Mattison. Kimberly, you have a mission, which is to raise that sense of ocean data coming to the fore. I'd love you to explain a bit about Hub Ocean and indeed how that Data Action Coalition will come together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today to share our work at Hub Ocean. The ocean is, of course, our single most important ecosystem, and it's our greatest ally, and it's under extreme pressure, as we all know. Now, we often use words to speak about the ocean as it's a place that's poorly governed, it's overexploited, it's largely unmapped from a data perspective, and it's with very good reason that we use these descriptors. But it's exciting to stand here before you today and also say that changes are afoot. There are great steps of progress in the ocean data landscape. It is moving forward by leaps and bounds in some cases. We are seeing many more opportunities to heal the ocean with the innovation that are created. So it's a very exciting time to be the leader of Hub Ocean, which is a nonprofit ocean foundation focused squarely on these challenges of ocean data. Let's see if I can index forward. And one more, good. So I'll come back in a moment to what Hub Ocean is doing and how, but let's reflect for a moment. In the last 10 days here at COP, we've seen many countries reaffirm their commitments to the ocean. And for them, what this means, among other things, is they have taken on a very formidable responsibility, which is to map and manage, in a sense, 100% of their ocean spaces, right? To manage 100% of their ocean jurisdictions in a sustainable way. For that, they're going to need a lot more data and the tools to draw it forward and solutions from there. So Hub Ocean is very proud indeed, together with Microsoft, to be leading the Ocean Data Action Coalition of the high-level panel for a sustainable ocean economy. In this data arm of the high-level panel, we have then the mandate to unlock crucial ocean data wherever it lies. And one of our focuses is especially to unlock this data from industry, from all kinds of business, from all kinds of industry that's been operating in the ocean perhaps for many, many decades and has great information to share. When this data is opened, it opens up a realm of possibilities, and that's what I wanted to focus on today, is to give you a couple of examples of ocean data in action. The first example to share is called Western Indian Ocean Symphony. It's a wonderful project sponsored and funded out of the Nairobi Convention with several international actors leaning in. And what this group of people attempted to do and succeeded with was to have a very pragmatic yet meaningful approach to collecting a huge amount of data from very many different data sources. They didn't easily stop with the challenges and the barriers, but they always faced the opportunities to collect data from all of the industries, from fishery, from human activities, etc., in the most pragmatic way possible, starting in some cases small and incomplete, but with the opportunity to build on more data and integrate it as they went. So collecting data from human activity, and specifically then lying that together with a vast amount of information on the state of the ocean itself, and then looking to call out very specifically what all of those human or industrial effects had in terms of specific damages, impacts, or vulnerabilities that it created in the ocean environment. And they've created a very, very meaningful set of data already, which is being used by the region, by countries, and also very, very local problem solving. Everything from marine spatial planning in Kenya to port development, for example, in Tanzania, and very much else. So I absolutely love the approach that's been taken by this group. It is showing the art of the possible. If this succeeded as it did already in the Western Indian Ocean, for us at Hub Ocean, this represents exactly the kind of example that we believe we can power up behind and we can scale to have effect across the globe. That brings me a little bit back to then Hub Ocean and what we do. Our foundation is focused on creating an enduring asset against a very ambitious goal. It's to unite all of the world's relevant ocean data together with a huge landscape of important actors. So we're in a sense creating interoperability, resolving away the complexity in data that we've begun to talk about, and putting that importantly on a geospatial, temporal, highly scalable cloud-based platform as an additional asset, for example, to the data assets that Ibu Nani spoke of for Indonesia, or many other data assets around the world. We look to 3 big buckets of data when we go about this job, and those are on the slide there. Industry data, as I just spoke about, and we'll see a couple examples of that. Very, very important for this exercise. Dispersed data, it can come from many different sources. Oftentimes we find wonderful data in science projects that stopped their efforts or ran out of funding, maybe published a small part of their data, but there's a huge amount more that that data could do for us if it was brought in aggregation with others. And then finally, open data, which of course represents the best of what countries and regions have funded for a very, very long time. Those are real gems in terms of the ocean data space. We bring it all together, make it talk together, and indeed fuel very important scenarios across the plane. So the models, the climate models of scientists, for example, can get so much better on the back of this data. Countries can have new tools for all of the difficult planning and prioritization and trade-offs that need to happen. And industry, well, industry's work can become a lot more transparent. Let's start with that. And then the pathway for industry to have less negative effect, more nature positive effect, more biodiversity positive effect can be laid bare in the data and then brought to bear through collaborations. So in this manner, Hub Ocean works together with a field of interest to create a more transparent world, one that's more science-backed and data-driven, all in the name of healing the ocean and advancing sustainable industry. So with that, I'd like to round off. We'll play a video and share yet one more great example of ocean data in action and demonstrating again a glimpse of the art of the possible, of what's really we're able to do when we unleash the power of data, technology, and collaboration. Thank you.
Normally, surveys happen once a year and you get a single snapshot of a very small area. And now we have access to many years of data covering the entire fishing area for the Antarctic pool. Gives us a lot of insight of what's really happening throughout the entire season. So we want to know at which depth is krill, how is it migrating, both kind of in latitude longitude space, but also in this diurnal vertical migration where it comes up and down during day and night. And we also want to know is how many other predators are actually feeding on these krill swarms simultaneously with the fishery. And is there potential overlap? Is that a problem? Is it not a problem? These sorts of things.
Well, that is, as you can see, a very clear example of where data sharing can come to the fore in terms of sustainable economy, so helping everyone in the process. We're going to extend our discussion now. I'd like to ask our other three panelists to come and join us, if you would, please. So if you'd like to come up, that's Mauricio Bermudez-Neubauer, who's the Managing Director at Accenture Strategy and Consulting and is the lead on carbon strategy and intelligence. Cynthia Bazuna. Cynthia is the Director of Ocean Action 2030, so working with all the governments in the high-level panel. Her background also, she was Deputy Minister of Water and Ocean Affairs for the Costa Rican government. Also, thank you for joining us, Melissa Garvey. Melissa is a lawyer by training, is the Global Director at the Nature Conservancy and is the lead on global ocean protection. So thank you very much for joining us. As you settle into your seats, Kimberly, a quick question to you really just to start. We've seen one example, we've heard of a couple more from the Deputy Minister. Great examples, but these are still exceptions. How do you make this sort of data sharing the norm?
Yeah, that's a great question, and by no means an easy one. We need to be prepared to be on this journey for many, many years. But I am very encouraged by what I would say is many actors pushing in the same direction. So we're getting a lot of help to make disclosures the norm by regulations that are coming, right? You might have heard a lot about CSRD, or about TNFD, the Task Force for Nature-Related Financial Disclosures. There's a whole host of ESG regulation that's really pushing this forward. There really will be no place to hide. And why should there be a place to hide, right? We want much more transparency, and we're going to be able to achieve it more and more with pushes from regulations. Also, for companies to get financial funding, it's much more common now, and it will be in the future also, that they must disclose to financial lenders in order to show the work that they're doing is truly greening, and that creates incentives, very powerful ones, for companies to have to disclose and share. But also I want to say, industry is finding more ways to create value for themselves as they share this data as well, right? A great example is in the Netherlands, offshore wind processes. The government has selected the winners of the bids based on not only how cheaply and effectively can you do this project, but on how will you take care of the environment. And the winner of the bid made very certain commitments to invest very profoundly in the nature around the offshore wind build-out. And that's the kind of thing where we love to see industry sharing data for their own good, for science, but also to speed us along in making the planet come right.
Right, it's another very practical, real example of how it can work. But Mauricio, let me come to you, because Accenture is very much a partner to this arrangement, but you're at the sharp end of the private sector as well, and you know what industry and business can be like. They hold on to their data. It's a competitive instinct. So what do governments have to do to change that mindset, to incentivize them more? I know you said a year ago, I noted, business needs to become carbon intelligent. They need to become data intelligent too, do they?
Thank you very much, and thank you, Kimberly, for having us and inviting us to the panel. So just very quickly to say, Accenture is a consulting, technology, and professional services organization, and we serve most of the Fortune 500s and in helping them implement enterprise systems, but also helping them on their sustainability transformation journeys. When we say carbon intelligent, that means putting carbon data and insights everywhere into decision-making systems within the business. It's not going to happen overnight, but if we're going to execute on the climate transition, we need to make carbon-informed decisions. So we now need to make also nature and ocean-informed decisions. It's a next wave. Climate urgency is here, is now. We have 1,600 working days between here and 2030, by which we need to reduce emissions globally by 45%. But the ocean crisis is a cascading crisis from the climate crisis. And I think we also have 1,600 working days, or we must think in that way, that we have 1,600 working days to begin becoming ocean and nature intelligent through the sticks, like the disclosure mechanisms of TNFD and how those will be transposed into national and subnational legislations. We've seen TCFD become SEC rule in North America. We've seen TCFD become European disclosure rules in Europe. It's coming. I completely agree with you, Kimberly. So we have to prepare, and we know business is already thinking in that regard.
It's slow burn thinking, though, or can you see an acceleration?
So the awareness and the urgency is absolutely there. But I think carbon and climate is an order of magnitude more advanced in terms of how businesses are mobilizing in this space than on nature and climate. What I'd say is it's really critical then, given the timing that we have, to really take the learnings, what we've done right in the carbon space, what we've done wrong in the carbon space, and apply them to nature. And I have a few comments, but I'll pause there to...
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Because I want to bring Melissa in here on, actually, partly this is about, yes, data matters, but it also depends on what type of data is being offered. And there are big gaps. Where are the gaps?
So at this point, well, let me just introduce myself. I'm the Global Director for our Nature Bonds program. And the work that we do is taking data and innovation and really trying to address the intersection of three of the world's greatest crises: the biodiversity crisis, the climate crisis, and the debt crisis. Because there are many countries that are interested in addressing their ocean conservation and climate goals, but they don't have the financial resources to be able to do that. And so we've been trying to work at the scale of the problem, creating solutions that matter and create those durable biodiversity and climate answers. We work with countries to refinance their sovereign debt in support of commitments for either 30 by 30 protection or meeting NDCs that they've already made, they have commitments to. And in support of that, we're able to unlock resources and help them address both the biodiversity and climate finance gap, but also help meet the needs of communities. Data is such an important part of the solution. All of these projects, they require a couple key steps. One is, after we've created the transaction and unlocked the resources, we require that there be effective stakeholder engagement, and that stakeholder engagement needs data. We need to be able to design effective protected areas. We need data to be able to put together appropriate management plans. The next steps, of course, are implementation of any of the projects using the resources from the data, or excuse me, from the debt refinancings. And that takes a lot of reporting, right? you need to be able to identify not just steps in the process that you've checked the box and done the planning, but you need to be able to also show that there's impact. And that requires data. It requires baseline data, and it requires the ability to track progress. So far, we've been able to do debt refinancings at the scale of refinancing $1.2 billion. We've unlocked $400 million for ocean conservation and have commitments to protect an area the size of the Gulf of Mexico. It's going to take more data for us to do more projects more effectively and more quickly.
Right. What is the potential, do you think? I mean, you instigated blue bonds. They're here, but they're not that easy to see or find.
So what we see is a huge opportunity at the, as I said, the intersection of all these crises. At this point, more than half of low-income countries are facing debt distress. And we know that between now and 2028, the most indebted countries have payments of $435 billion to make. The opportunity is enormous, and there's, like I said, a lot of data that's going to be needed to be able to support the kinds of resource unlocking and tracking that's going to be essential for us all to meet the goals that we're facing from both biodiversity and climate challenges.
Cynthia, you're working with all the countries engaged in this initiative. To what extent are you seeing the private sector, companies and industry playing their part and being accepted within that role? And how much further do you think it should be going?
So I thank you, David, for that question. I think private sector only comes into the equation if they don't see any risk. So to de-risk the ocean, we need to understand the ocean. We need to have data. We need to have the best available data and the best available resources. So when it comes to working with the ocean panel members, 18 of them all over the world, Indonesia being part of them, you need to create some kind of holistic approach to actually deliver on the actions that are needed to sustainably manage 100% of their EEZs. So in order to do that, in order to have a wealthy ocean, you need to have a healthy ocean. And without data, without the ocean, it's about ocean literacy, it's about knowing how to protect, but also it's the three P mantras. It's prosperity, it's production, it's preservation. And they all have to come in together into the equation because there's no 30 by 30 without actually delivering on the protection and the rest. For example, and Dr. Nani was referring to this, integrated data and also open data. And there's a huge gap for developing countries. I come from a developing country and developed countries, and that needs we need to create the right mechanisms. For that, we've been working very closely with the Ocean Panel members to deliver on sustainable ocean plans. This is the holistic approach that is needed to de-risk the ocean, to have the investment that's needed.
And is that, sorry to interrupt you, is that a common template, if you like, for each country? Because they're national plans, aren't they? It's not like one plan across the piece fits all. And I wonder, when you're working with them, where do you see the biggest obstacles? Is it a reluctance from private sector to engage? Is it a reluctance or a lack of imagination even from some governments in terms of how to draw them into the equation?
Well, first one is always finance, 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 right? It's the big elephant in the room is always the hardest one. In terms of the beauty of this sustainable ocean plans is that they're custom made. So every country has their own reality, but it has to be ecosystem based as well. And the holistic approach needs to be there. And I think countries, we all tend to forget that the ocean is the greatest ally to tackle climate change. And 35% of the emissions we could have a potential 35% reduction of the emissions with ocean-based solutions by 2050. This is a no-brainer. So in terms of bringing in the private sector, I would think like, okay, this is the number we want to discuss. This is a report commissioned by the high-level panel that was launched recently in the margins of United Nations General Assembly. And I think we should focus on this big number, on how we can potentially reduce emissions by 35% just just by looking into the ocean. So ocean needs to become a large part of the conversation here at COPs. And not only this one, because it's an integrated system between global biodiversity framework and also climate change, and we can actually create a sustainable ocean management, so it's a triple win right there. And then countries can really use this powerful tool in their national adaptation plans, in their NDCs, but also in their MBSAPs. So when it comes to the risk in the ocean, there you go. This is kind of probably you should head to and use this a very important tool to deliver.
Mauricio, finance, 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 Cynthia said there. You know, that is the single most important element, which I think probably business tends to reflect on as well there. What other incentives can come into play?
Yeah, so all advisory firms focus on how can we deliver sustainability outcomes in a way that's attractive financially to business. That's the easiest way to get things done. And so, you know, with some of the language that we're using here around the panel, I think, you know, for example, for engaging in executives, it needs to be simplified and clarified, and I think across 3 areas. First, there's a critical education aspect. We've seen it in carbon as well, where we just need folks to understand these cascading effects, both in terms of potentials for emissions reduction, as well as on, you know, risks and opportunities, right? So those risks and opportunities need to be very clear. Second, the incentives. So we've talked about the regulatory incentives quite a bit, how, you know, TNFD and others might translate to incentives. That's, you know, hits the bottom line because, you know, license to operate, but also potential fines, whatever shape or forms those incentives might take. But also positive incentives. So, you know, showing the opportunity with higher productivity of fisheries and lower cost of carbon compensation, and we can go on with a very long list. And then finally, I think showing the opportunity for innovation, how technology can actually really accelerate this. When you were, Kimberly, talking about the sources of data, of industry data, dispersed data, open data, just to give a couple of examples, we for example launched in offshore wind as well, coincidentally, you know, image reading technology that counts puffins, and, you know, to show the ocean health of, you know, not marine, you know, very close to marine ecosystems, or a reef cloud in Australia using, you know, just the pictures that people are posting on Instagram and other social media, to use machine learning technology on that and just scan for things like, you know, reef coverage or reef composition. Right. So we need to bring all of those things together to give the stick and the carrot incentives for it to make business sense for companies to act on this.
Which is also where you need Hub Ocean pulling a lot of those sort of strands together. But I can't let this moment go without asking Melissa to reflect on one other. It's an AI project. We've just heard about facial recognition for puffins, but you've got another example which is fascinating.
Oh, I love this. There's a neat technology that we've been using, and I know that some of that's been in Indonesia. It's called Fish Face. It's just facial recognition software that you can use to identify the species of fish. So you know that what you're catching is what you think you're catching. I love that. And there's ways that we can think so creatively about using technology in these sorts of ways.
Briefly.
And we were just talking as we were walking down the corridor at, I think this is the public domain, but I won't name the organization just in case, but aircraft manufacturers have made a whole new business model out of putting sensors and other forms of cameras on their aircraft and collecting imagery and other wavelength data and monetizing those data sets. What might that look like across private vessels, across commercial vessels, where we put other types of sensing mechanisms to just open the amount of data, like radically change the amount and volume of data. And, you know, we were
That's
talking
right.
about it.
And the business model, what we also spoke about is these are business models that drive industry to censor and share, but we need to push very hard that the open data sharing is equally a part of and considered strongly in this business value data sharing. And both go together very, very nicely, but not obvious unless we're very deliberate about it.
Look, we are right up against the clock. I want to thank you all as panelists for contributing to this discussion, which will go a long way further yet. But I do want to close, actually, Kimberly, if I could ask you, first of all. These are amazing examples, and they're out there. They can be done tomorrow. You know, they're happening. But action is the key, isn't it? And in fact, all around COP28, it's, yes, commitments are amazing. Where's the action? Where's the action? So where does the action come from?
Well, we are leading something called the Action Data Coalition, right? So, and I think that's the key word. What I love about the work that Habotian is doing in concert with everyone on the stage and so many more is we're not only talking about the need to do these things, but we're building a hardcore data apparatus to bring the goods to the table. So that's action, and so everywhere we sniff, everywhere we go, we're all about looking at what's the prioritized agenda of Indonesia, what's the prioritized agenda of Accenture, TNC, etc. And we say, well, how do we build that out in terms of data? The time is now, we've got technology, but the process and the action is absolutely needing to be focused. So together we're going to get there step by step, and the steps are going faster. They are.
Right, well, that's important. I mean, I think it's fair to say data per se is not necessarily the most sexy title, you know? But the reality of what it brings to the table is incredibly exciting. Dr. Nani, one of the many contributions in the preparation for this event came up saying, I can't wait to listen and to be inspired. How do you inspire, in your country, for example, greater involvement in this area?
Yes, I think Indonesia, once again, I think we are archipelagic country. So we really very dependent of the waters. So we know the data from the ocean is not easy to get. It's not cheap. It's because of all the finance, I think. But it's very important also to you know really like high correlation with the marine ecosystem, such like Ocean Health Index. I think this is just such an example, so that we need that, and also we Indonesia is going to have like the policy on the related with the climate change, because in enhanced NDC we already like put it coastal resilience, means ocean in adaptations in our consideration. But then in the near future, for the second NDC, we would like to have more, like include the ocean sector in the NDC. So then the consequence for this, we need to also improve our data in the ocean and in the coastal. So I think I would like also to say that Indonesia can accelerate for ocean data sharing by implementing a sustainable ocean economy, and also I think the launching initiative of the NBF. I think this was last year, 2022. I think then this will be like a very important moment to enhance the access to and sharing the public sector information or data, and facilitating also data sharing with the private sector. So how? I think the private sector that they they are willing to share the data, then we can give also to them the access or the other data from the other private sector. So it's like making connection between the private sector. And the second one also we are like encouraging and already proposing like all the vessel. Actually we can make it such like put it the sensor to measure the real like temperature, for instance. That's one of the key also parameter that we would talk about the condition of the water. Yeah.
Well, it's clear.
Yes,
it's
I think
clear
it is,
that leadership is needed. You're bringing your leadership to the table. I think you are all leaders in this vital area, and I must thank you all very much indeed for your contribution today.
Thank you.
Many thanks for that. And if there is a watchword, it's action, but it might be inspiration. I hope you've had a bit of both from our panel today. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Thank you very much.